So with us getting back into the Red Hulk series, this still ties in with One World Under Doom before the events of issue 9. And I'll still have this video and the others on the One World Under Doom playlist, and I have that linked at the end of the video. But coming back with Captain Simon Riker basically returning from the dead as the latest version of Warwolf, so far he's given Thunderbolt Ross a run for his money. So let's get back into it. But first, if you're enjoying these videos, be sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications. Alright, so picking right back up. This continues from right when we saw Thunderbolt Ross not only discover that Captain Simon Riker was still alive, but also that Riker had now become head of Project Alpha and the new Warwolf, which is different from what we've seen him do before when he turned Deathlock's old war buddy Mike Travers into the Warwolf, and it puts a spin on things where it's like now Captain Riker wants this power for himself. And he's not stopping there because he also wants the Red Hulk, either with or without the cooperation of Thunderbolt Ross. And with Ross recently escaping Doom's dungeon in Latveria, only to find himself imprisoned after breaking the US treaty, at this time Ross has exhausted his energy and he doesn't have enough juice to Hulk out, which leaves him at the mercy of Captain Riker, the new Warwolf. And now after defeating Ross, who was woefully outmatched, trying to fight the Warwolf without the Red Hulk, like we knew right away where that was going. But now with Captain Riker getting ready to study Ross's body and basically force his cooperation, Ross tells him, you can beat me, starve me, lock me up, but that doesn't mean you can tell me what to do, Riker. And he just tells Ross, Captain Riker. Captain, a senior rank. You've been stripped of yours, at my advisement. Because currently under the Doom administration, at this time, Ross broke out of Doom's dungeon, threatened the treaty that was already delicate, he ordered a nuclear strike on Latveria, and I mean if you do that to any country, it's gonna get you in some level of trouble. But Ross is standing his ground for what he believes in, so for anyone else who's just siding with this new world order, he considers them to be an enemy. And this has him going off on Riker because Doom is his commander-in-chief, and Captain Riker's response to this is just that Doom is everyone's commander-in-chief, and that Ross needs to wake up to the new world order. And from here, when Riker begins the testing, he starts out by sending gamma radiation to different sections of Ross's body, and it looks extremely painful. The type of stuff Bruce goes through on a Thursday. And of course he doesn't care how much pain Ross is in, but rather the reason why he's using this method is because it's the only way for him to safely study the Red Hulk, in bits and pieces, bone by bone, organ by organ. And he even tells Ross here, anything for God and country, right my friend? Which just lets you know when Ross gets free, when he's able to aim the Red Hulk at the sky, he's gonna have a little fun with his bones and organs too. But right now, back over with Deathlock and Machine Man, who like we saw just recently found out where Ross is being held, which is just outside of Langley, Virginia, so these guys are racing to make it there. But along the way, they catch the attention of the authorities, and Deathlock's like, we gotta do something. So Machine Man asks, would you advise me to stop? And Deathlock's like, nah, I ain't say all that. But he tells them if they get caught, Machine Man's going back to the scrapyard, and Deathlock's gonna get locked up again. So Machine Man comes up with a clever move here, almost as clever as the move to this video sponsor, Kofi Houston, who you can find at KofiHouston.com, where right now to help people of all ages dealing with germophobia, in his latest book titled Cootie Wars, which has received a number of great reviews already, on both Amazon as well as BarnesandNoble.com, Kofi not only finds a creative way to turn this challenge into an adventure, but the dude can also write. Because I'll tell you, I was like 3 chapters in, and when I saw how he would describe characters interacting with eyes dancing around the room and another crinkling with amusement, and I was like, okay, I can see these characters. So check out the link in the description to learn more and share it with a friend who you think this book could do good for. And now Machine Man comes up with a clever move here, because while they're being chased, he finds a tunnel up ahead, so he kicks it into high gear, leading the chase inside. And the next thing we see is the car just race straight through, out the other side of the tunnel and off a cliff before it crashes and explodes, leading the police to believe that these guys just went out with a bang, when really they just jumped out and clung to the top of the tunnel and just hung around till the coast was clear. And now that they're not too far from Ross, they can make the rest of the way on foot. And now when Ross eventually comes to, after all the insane testing that Captain Riker was putting him through, he's met by First Sergeant Bowden, who tells him he's been out for about 20 hours. And at this point, with Ross still not being able to Hulk out, he knows not to try another escape attempt on her because she's not normal. But also this time around when they speak, there's a bit more mutual respect. And I mean, for First Sergeant Bowden, we saw her disobey orders to help Ross before. But on his end, he believes she has some level of integrity, but with her following orders under Doom's leadership and under Captain Riker, he sees this as making her complicit in Riker's crimes. So the respect from Ross is there just based on the fact that he knows that she knows better. But when Ross tells her here, if you work for him, then you're complicit in his crimes, referring to Captain Riker, he tells her that makes her his enemy. And that's what she tells him, I was assigned to Project Alpha, I'm following orders. And just so we're clear, You're the one who's been stripped of his rank. And Ross is quick with the comebacks. He's like, without a court-martial? And that's where she's like, and accused of treason. And he's like, without a hearing? And that's what she tells him, like, okay, if you're saying Captain Rikers is the traitor, where's your proof? And for Ross, who knows Captain Riker through and through, he tells her when the captain's occupied, go to his office. In there you'll find a safe room with some kind of magical device that allows him to speak to Doom. And she doesn't tell Ross that she's gonna go look, but you can tell this piece of information is gonna eat her alive until she can find out what this is all about. And now at this time, Deathlock and Machine Man, who have made their way to the Project Alpha facility, they can just tell by the looks of this place, given that it's nuclear powered. These guys are definitely doing some kind of gamma-based experiments. So right away, Deathlock's like, man, if Red Hulk can't break out of there, it's gonna be hard for us to break in. So just based off the fact that nuclear reactors need a significant amount of water to cool them, Machine Man's already figured out a route for them to take along the riverside so they can make their way in. And now back over with Ross, who's currently having more of those excruciating gamma tests performed on him. He tells Captain Riker that he knows why he's performing these tests. And even now we see First Sergeant Bowden making her way to Riker's office because she needs to know if Thunderbolt Ross was right. But Ross goes on to tell Riker that he knows what he's up to. He knows what he's planning. And it became pretty obvious to Ross when he saw those Sharkmen in that tank before. Because just off of seeing that, Ross knows that Riker wants to graft pieces off of him, pieces of the Red Hulk, onto other experiments. So Project Alpha can have a whole platoon of Red Hulks. And really, you can tell just from the sound of that, it's not going to be good for anyone. And Captain Riker doesn't even deny it, because he tells Ross, you have too much power and authority. A knife stabs, a gun shoots. A weapon should do as it's told. And over on Bowden's end, she's pried her way into Riker's office, and the safe room's in there just like Ross told her it would be. And now Riker continues her saying, a Red Hulk should be a grunt, not a general. So I'm either going to find a way to replicate your powers, or destroy your mind. And that's where we jump back to First Sergeant Bowden, who's now made her way inside the safe room, only to find herself face to face with the magical projection of Emperor Doom. But even now in this case, this isn't necessarily Doom directly, because like we saw before, Doom would either use his Doombots or some sort of magical proxy, much like this one, to either keep tabs on different locations or have private communications with different leaders in the background. But at any point, if things escalated to where Doom believed that he needed to get up and go there himself, then he would. But there were so many times during One World Under Doom where he had to be in more than one place at once, whether it was having a talk with Valeria while fighting Reed Richards, the Scientist Supreme, or making his huge Doombot swarm warning announcement in Latveria to his prisoners while fighting the Avengers or Dormammu or whoever it was at the time. This method allowed Doom to not have to drop what he was doing and still stay connected with the rest of the world. But even still, just seeing this confirmed things for First Sergeant Bowden as far as Thunderbolt Ross being right. Meanwhile, with Deathlock and Machine Man, they've currently made their way from the river into the facility's water cooling system, which as it turns out is a bit more complicated than a couple of tubes going through to a water block, because as these guys make their way through, this system turns out to be a maze. So it gets to a point where they more or less gotta guess where to go next, and because of that, they wind up swimming right into the tank we saw back in issue 6 with the super swole street sharks. So now they found even more trouble of their own. But when we go back over to Ross, who at this time has endured an amount of pain that would have killed most people. During this test, the alarm to Riker's office goes off, which right there lets Ross know that First Sergeant Bowden took him up on his word and went to go see for herself. So when Riker takes off to go check it out, Ross is still trying to buy her some time, because he's telling Riker to get back here and get back to the testing, like Ross wants more of that pain and suffering. But Riker doesn't pay Ross any mind. He transforms into the Warwolf and he races to that office full speed, only to find both doors going into the office and the safe room have been broken down. And when Riker gets there, Doom tells him, we have a problem and you need to fix it. And Doom goes on to tell him how not only is it gravely disappointing that Captain Riker had allowed someone to see what he was working on and tie it back to Doom, but if the information of what they're working on gets out to the world, Doom tells Riker here that their collaboration will end and Riker's life will be forfeit. So yeah, Riker, yeah, he's in trouble. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. Drop a like if you enjoyed the video. And do keep in mind, our Red Hulk coverage is still catching up to One World Under Doom issue 9. So we're still about a couple Red Hulk videos from that, just so you know. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.